Hello, welcome to Charities Bubble, USA. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Today we are going to talk about the DS260 to see how we can fill it in. So please make sure to watch this video from the beginning to the end. It has a lot of important information that can help you when you're filling your DS260. And I'm sure if you're doing this, you have already won your green card. Congratulations. And before I start, I want to thank all my subscribers, everybody who has been watching my videos. Please make sure that every video that you watch to the end, because there's a lot of information that you get to learn. So let's get to the DS260 application. The DS260 application is just a sample from the website Travel.state.gov. Like I said, this is just information that I have read about and I have walked this journey. So I'm just going to explain a little bit. And just a disclaimer, I do not work for immigration. I am just explaining how to fill out the DS260. So it's going to look like that when you open the website. And then it is going to have you sign in. Remember your email address. That's what you're going to use to sign in. And then you will put in your case number over here. They have sent you the case number when you start filling the DS260. They send you a case number. It can be in your email. It can be in your mail. So you put it there. And then you go on. So we have already put our case number. You enter your invoice ID number. This one they have given you in the information that they have sent you from the National Visa Center. And then you come here, you are the first applicant. Put your information here. If you are the one, if your name was the one that was selected, you are the one who is supposed to put your name here. You say, I am the first applicant. And then you enter these characters over here, and then you continue. So the same thing that I said over here. And this form is gonna repeat itself because it is just a sample. So we are gonna go with it just like it is. So here, personal information for the first applicant. You will put your surname. Your surname is your last name or your parent name. And it explained to you that your surname must be listed on your passport. So do not add another surname over here. Write the names on your passport and your names. Maybe John Doe. And then your name in native alphabet, your middle name, the name that you were given by your parents, put it there. If you have ever used any other names, make sure to name them there. It could be your maiden name, a religious name, a professional name, an alias, anything, just put it there. An alias is a nickname. Then whether you are a male or female, indicate there. Put in your date of birth, very, very important. City, where you're born, very important. The province, for example, if I would put Central Province, because that's where I was born. And the country or region of birth, of course, I would put Kenya there because that's where I was born. If it's someone from another country, they would put their country. Now we go on. This is the same thing that we have talked about. Like I said, it keeps on repeating itself. Now let's go to personal information 2. Now this is what if you have a spouse. If you have a spouse, now this is where you put their information. So where are they from? What is their nationality or citizenship? Put it there. If they are Kenyans, put them there. What document do they have? At this time, they must have a passport. Put their passport. They say that they have a passport. And the ID, the number of the passport, make sure that you indicate there. And then the country or authority that issued the document. If you got it from Kenya, put it, if you got it from Kenya, put it there. Uganda, Tanzania, South Africa, Mexico, put it there. Then when was it given? When was it issued? If it was issued like today is 1st of September, put the date there and the expiration date when it expires, because every passport has an expiry date. And then they're going to ask you if you have a hard citizenship or nationality in another country. Now, if you didn't have any, say no. If you had nationality in another country, please indicate there, and it's going to open another drop down, and then it's going to have you fill out all that information. So this is still the personal information for the second person, where they were where they were born. And if they have any other travel document apart from a passport, they are supposed to put it there. Then, if you are born in a different country and you moved to another country and became a citizen on another country, it is very important to indicate there. But if you were just born and you stayed in your country, say no. Now, if you let's assume I'm not going to give an example here. Let's assume you were born in South Africa and then you went to live in Tanzania. So you would say that you were born in South Africa and then you went to live in Tanzania. So you indicate there where you were born and where you went to live. But if you have not had any other citizenship for another country, just leave it like that. If you have a passport for another country, they will ask you to indicate that over there. And so this is just a repetition. And then we go on. It's going to ask you about your address. This is where you live. An address is where you live. And an address is a mailbox where you can get your letters from if they sent you a mail. So give a valid address that you know if they sent you a letter or anything, you can get it. So you have to look for a person who has an address, or it's like us, we looked for a person who had an address, who was our neighbor, and we used their address. But do not look for an address for a person who is very far and you won't get your letters. No, just make sure that it is nearby. And then the city, the state, and the zip code, and then the country. Which country? Like here they have given an example of Argentina. It can be Kenya, it can be Uganda. It doesn't matter, the country that you were born. And then when did you start living in that address, in that place? You write there. If you started living there before when you were born, write that date that you were born up to current. If you moved there, like maybe you were born in the village and you moved to Nairobi, you write there when you started living there. Very, very important. If you have had previous addresses, if you have moved, make sure that you indicate your previous address over there. Your phone number, very important. If you have 2 phone numbers, very important. Your work phone number, very, very important. If you have been employed, they like to have that information. Now, if you have changed your telephone number during the last 5 years, they have a slot there, indicate there. If you didn't change your number, then write a no. Email address, very, very important. And I remember the email address that I used to log in is the same one that I used over here. So put your email address over there. And if you have any other email address, like I have 2 email addresses, I can put my email address here. But if you do not have another email address, don't put it, just leave it there. Very, very important. Social media. Social media is very important. If you have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, whatever handle that you have, put it there. It's very, very important. They want to know you more, to know you better. And depending on whatever you post indicates who you are. So like I said, make sure that you're posting stuff that cannot make you to be ashamed. So put your social media handles there. All of them, make sure that you indicate them there. Even if you're using different names, please be honest and put everything over there. Now, this is all about the address. We've talked about that. Let's go on. Let's go on. We've talked about social media. Now, this is another part that says mailing and permanent address information. Very, very important. This is where you're going to live. This is where you're going to live. So when you go to live in the US, this is the place that you're going. This is your host's address. So that's why I say the host is very important. So they have a mailing address. If it is the same as the present address. Now, like, for example, if I wanted to host someone, I would give them, this is my mailing address and it is a present address. It is where I live and it's where my mail or my letters come to. So I would give them one. If they do not have to, if they live at a certain place and their mail comes from a different place, they will give you two. But most of the time, they will just give you one mailing address. So the name of the person currently living at the address is your host. Put your host over there. If you click it does not apply, then that means that you don't have a host. Then that can be a grounds for you not to get a visa, because you need someone to guide you when you come to the US. It's not just like that. They will give you their address, the city that they are living in, the state. We have so many states in this country, so they will give you the state that they live in and their zip code. This is a code for every area has a zip code. They will tell you that. You might not understand. I did not understand when I was filling my DS260, but I came to understand later. So they will give you all this information and they will give you their phone number. make sure that you write this information correctly. Now, they will also ask you this question: do you want your permanent resident card or your green card to be mailed here? So you will say yes or no, depending on the information that you have been given by your host, but most of the time you just say yes. Very, very, very important information that we are learning there. Again, this is Charities Bubble USA, and we are trying to understand how to fill out the DS260. So if you are tuning in, please let's go on and see if you can finish filling out this form. So we have talked about all this information. Your mailing and permanent address, very, very, very important. It's a long form, but we have to make sure that we know what's in there. Then we go to family information. Very, very important about our parents. So your father's information, his surname is his last name, the name that belongs to his father. And then the given names is like, so the surname, so that person can be called John, Otieno, or Anyango. So Anyango is there, John Otieno is here. So that is, you put your parents' name and their date of birth. If you do not know, you indicate there that you do not know. The city where they were born, the province, and the region. Very, very important. If your father is still living, if they are alive, say yes. If they are dead, deceased, you say no. Same case with your mother. If your mother is Mary Njeri Kimani, Kimani will be the surname. Mary Njeri will be the given names. And then if you don't know, if you are an orphan or you never got to know your parents, then you can just write there that you don't know. Date of birth, very, very important of your parents. And if you do not know their date of birth, you indicate there that you do not know where they were born, the province, the country, and the region. Very, very very, very, very important. Is your mother still living? You say yes or no. You tick there. Then this is what we have talked about: the father, the mother. This is in case you want to invite your parents to come to the US, they will just look at your DS260 and they will know automatically if that is your mother, because that information, they have it, because your parents, when you become a citizen, it's very easy to file for them to come to the US. Now, after the parents, now we come to your spouse. We said we are going to involve everybody. So the information of the spouse, your current spouse, right there. If you are married, wife, whatever, right there. Their given names right there, date of birth right there. Now, if you are a lady, make sure that the name that is on your passport is what you put here. Do not add any other name. Even if you have your surname as your dad's name, let it stay like that. Then the city where you are born, province of birth, and the region. I am region or the country where that person was born. Very, very important. So I would say, like, if it was me, Kenya Central. The address where they're living. Most of the time, if you're living together, the address should be the same. What do they do for a living? Right there. What do they do for a living? Is occupation. Occupation is what they do for a living. And then, because it is your spouse, you have to indicate the date and place of marriage, city, province, country, or region. Now, this one, so you will support it with the marriage certificate. They asked us for our marriage certificate, very, very important, and the dates must match. So is the spouse going to the US with you? You indicate there yes or no. Or are they going at a later date? So because you can be given the visa and then one of you decides to join the other one and at a later date, especially due to finances, whereby one person will go before, they can work a little bit, and then they can invite, they can pay the fare for the airfare for the rest of the family, and then they can come. But that does not mean that you won't go for the visa interview. All of you have to attend the visa interview, regardless of whether you're going to go to the US together or you're going to go separately. It doesn't matter. So this is the current spouse. We have talked about that, the date of marriage. We have talked about that, about the address. If they are not employed, just indicate there that they are not employed. But it's good to have something. We cannot stay without working. It's good to have some, even if you didn't go to school for something, do something. You can be a house manager or whatever, but have something there and have 2 years minimum work experience. Very, very important. Very, very, very important. Now, this is all about the current spouse again, and this form keeps repeating itself because this is a sample. It is just a sample. Now, this is another thing. Do you have any previous spouses? I had a question, one of my viewers asking if they had, the spouse had died or they had divorced or they were single. Now, they will ask you this. If you were married and you divorced, say yes, and then you provide a divorce certificate, a separation certificate, very, very important. If your spouse had died, it's good to have a death certificate. And then the same thing, write their name there. Whether you are divorced or you're not divorced or they are dead, write their names there. See? Date of marriage, when you got married, very important. And their date of birth, very important. Date the marriage ended, very, very important. And how was your marriage terminated? So it is normal for a very, very normal occurrence for people to get married and to divorce. That is not something that they are gonna, that is a shock to them, and it is not a crime. So do not hide that information. Just let them know and make sure that you have supporting documents. If your marriage was not terminated in the court, explain there. They have a place for you to explain. And the country where it was terminated, you explain over there. Then you go on. Here we go about children. We said we are not leaving our children behind. So it will ask you, do you have any children? Yes or no. If you have kids, put there. If you don't have any kids, fine. We go on. Write their names, their surname, their given names, and their date of birth. Make sure that it matches their passport. By here, they must have their passport. So please, please, please put your kids there, their names, place of birth, where they were born, and the country that they were born. Very, very important. They will ask you whether these children live with you. Put that information over there. And if that child is going to the US or immigrating to the US with you, you will say there whether they are going with you or no. So the same thing that we talked about there about children. And then here is going to ask you about previous US travel information. Have you traveled to the US? Yes or no? Depends on an individual. Have you ever been given a visa? Depends on an individual. Or have you ever been refused a visa? Depends on an individual. Make sure that you say the truthful answers. If you have been to the US, whatever, the date you have arrived, the date you got the visa, write all that information over here, especially if you have had come here in the US. If you have had a visa and it was stolen, make sure that you say that. And if it was cancelled or revoked because of something that you did, make sure that you indicate that. If you are refused a visa, if you went to the American embassy and they didn't give you a visa, fill out there and tell them that information, because if you're not truthful, they are going to deny you the visa. Then here is work. The work that you're doing. Primary occupation is work. Occupation is work. So you tell them what you're doing and what work you intend to do or to work in the US. They want working people. They don't want people who just go there and they don't work. So it's good to have a job. So look here, it's agriculture. Agriculture. And I said this one of my previous videos I've talked about the job categories. So agriculture there. If you have been employed, write your employer there and their address. Now, and by now we know the address is where that person lives, or where if a mail can be sent, you can get the mail. So write that. And then, do you have any other occupations? If you are a teacher and then you stopped teaching and then you became a farmer, indicate there. What do you want to do when you go to the US? You can be a farmer, agriculture. It's we have very many big farms here. You can go and do farming. If you want to do something else, indicate it there. There is no limitation. Let's go on. And if you have any training, this is the same thing that I have talked about. Now, what about your spouse? Let's assume another occupation. You can say that you are a homemaker. So all these, and is the same thing here. Now let's go on. So other is any other occupation or any other job that you just want to write there. If you have another side job, just indicate there. And they keep on asking there. This one, not employed. I wouldn't say that I am not employed. We say that we have to, even if it's on business or whatever, let us have 2 years minimum experience. It is a requirement, because they want to see when you go to the US, you will be able to support yourself. Very, 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 very important on that information. So So this is the same thing. If you had been employed, you will let them know here. And also, have you attended education institutions? Have you gone to any college, university? Tell them there. You have to have supporting document. So you write there. It's a long form, very, very long form. Were you previously employed? Indicate there and give supporting documentation. Very, very important. So I'm scrolling so that we can go to another page. So, where have you traveled within the last 5 years? You write there. Have you served in the military? Right there. Very important. Have you traveled in either? It's the same thing that I talked about. So you tell them there. Have you worked for any charitable organization like AMREF? Tell them there. You have any specialized skills like firearms, explosives? You tell them there. Are you a vigilante, a rebel group, a guerrilla group? Those are people who like fight the government. Say yes or no. Can you speak Korean languages other than your native language? If you can speak French, or speak German or any other language, it's very helpful when you are it's called bilingual. Very, very important, and those people get jobs as interpreters, or even Mexicans, they get job as interpreters. So they'll ask you about travel, military. This is the same thing. They will ask you whether you have visited. They will ask you, that's the same thing that I talked about. And then here, after that, they will ask you about the petitioner who is filing that the DS260 for you. You will tell them here. When you click on this page here, it brings out, could be a parent, could be your lawyer, could be your work. There, you indicate there who is filing for you. And then we go on. Now, like this is a good example. The petitioner here was the father. So they have written the father. They write their names there, their address, their state, postal zip code and region, and their telephone number, their mobile, and their email address. Very, very important. And then we go on. It can be an employer. The employer will write all their information over here. If the person who is petitioning for you is an employer, they will write all their information over there. And then you can be yourself right there. If you're filling out the form by yourself, do it there. If it is being done, like for example, I'm a US citizen. If I'm doing for my person, I will write my name. But here, if I am, if I had known how to fill out the DS260 here, I would have still written whatever myself. We go on. So they will ask you about your health. Do you have TB? You tell them, have you been vaccinated? We had to take our vaccination to the American embassy. Very, very, very important. Tell them about it. They are not going to discriminate you. Just tell them. Mental or physical disorder, mention that. Are you a drug abuser or an addict? Mention that to them. This is all about being convicted, being arrested, going to jail, involving yourself in drug trafficking, people trafficking. Be truthful in all this information. Very, very truthful, because these are crimes. They want to know if you're a criminal. They don't want to invite a criminal in their country. So you have to answer all those questions about crimes if you have had any crimes. And being a criminal is, we said, is one of the same thing here. One of the things that can make you not to be admissible in this country. The same thing here. This is to do if you're a troublemaker with the government, all this stuff. If you are trafficking people, all this stuff is about your morals. You have to indicate what kind of person you are. You have to tell on yourself. Okay. Now, have you ever tried to help people gain a visa, or did fraud, or any other unlawful means, especially to help people who do not have paperwork to live in this country? You have to say there. Have you been deported from any country, not even US, any other country? You say there. You have to tell on yourself. Tell everything about yourself. Have you assisted others? This is the same thing. This is all about morals. So please tell them. I said you have to be a clean slate because you'll have to answer all those questions, everything truthfully. Now, let's go back here and see what's here. Have you refused to go for a hearing for a deportation? If you get a mail and you refuse to go, they have sent you the mail, they know that you have received it, and if you refuse to go, you have to tell on yourself. Have you been unlawfully present or overstayed the amount of time? Most people like to overstay. I don't know anybody who has overstayed, but if you overstay your visa, if it's 5 years and you stay for 7 years, when you go, they won't ask you, but when you're coming back, they might not let you in, because unless you have a valid reason. So you tell them if you overstayed, and you give a good reason here, and you give supporting document. Very, very, very important. All this is about morals. If you have been removed from the US, if you have been ordered to get out of the US within 20 years, indicate there yes or no. Very, very, very self-explanatory questions. And you have to answer them. If you have been accused of aggravated felony, if you have been unlawfully present in the US for more than 180 days, and you have voluntarily departed to the US within the last 3 years, you indicate all that information about being unlawfully present in the US. Okay? So all that information you have to tell on yourself. You have to fill out truthfully and tell out about yourself. Now this is all still, are you permanently ineligible to be here in this country? Are you a visitor who has not yet filed a fulfilled 2-year green foreign resident requirement? Have you made a frivolous or a fraudulent application for asylum? Asylum is whereby the people who are refugees and they come and they get asylum, and you lie that you're a refugee and your country doesn't have refugees. They will find out. And then, are you likely to become a public charge? A public charge, I said, is when you don't have a host or you don't have anywhere to go. So make sure that you indicate the information of your host so that they know that you know where you're going, and they know that you have someone who is going to guide you in knowing the stuff in this country. Now, they will also ask you about the social security number, and I'm going to talk about the social security number later. If you have ever had it, say yes or no. If you want them to give you a social security number, they will ask you, even if you have never had one. See, they are asking you there. And then do you authorize for them to share information with the Department of Homeland and Security? You will tell them there whatever you want. Have you ever employed? The same thing we talked about there. And if you have ever been given a social security number, they tell you to write it there. And then now we come to signing and submitting the page. Very, very important. So on signing and submitting the page, you see, you will sign there. Say this or not signed at that time, and then it will ask you, did anyone assist you to file out this application? If you are assisted, and by this time, when you have watched this video and just gone through just an overview of what it is, you'll have information, and you'll be able to fill out this form for yourself. So it's not a big task. So you can say, yes, I filled it out for yourself. If you still cannot do it, then due to various reasons, then you say no, and you say who filled out for you, and then e-signature. You sign electronically. It lets you sign electronically. You put your NVC case number and your passport number. Remember, this number is the one that we started with at the beginning. And then they tell you to enter the code, and then you sign and submit your application. When you sign and submit your application, it's gone. So, and then after that, we had to print all this information and send it to an address that they gave us. And then now we had to wait. After you fill out the DS260, we had to wait, and we had to wait to be called for the interview. So very, 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 very important, very, very, very important information that we have learned out about. Again, this is Charity's Bubble. Please watch this video to the fullest, and I believe that you will learn something, and ask a question, share with a friend, and let's meet again when we talk about another topic. Thank you. And I am going to put the citation and where the website that this information is in. You can go there and read more, because like I said, this is not my information. I just read and I want to share with my fellow people who I feel like they need to know this information. So once again, thank you, and see you next time, and God bless you.